A pleasant good day, all my fans. Normally I'm with you on a Monday, but nonetheless I'm here today, Thursday, the 5th of August 2021. So it's good to be alive, and this week I just want to explain that I will be discussing my presentation here in a few parts. Right? The first part will be a little motivational section. Then I'm going to talk to you about the services that I offer, and then I will do the presentation, and then at the end I'll also give you a reminder of the services that we offer. So once again, it's a pleasure to be with you, fans, well-wishers, strangers, whichever part of the globe you're located. It's a pleasure through this channel to communicate with you. So we start off with the motivational section, and I would like to say, that life is a gift that is worth living. And you can repeat after me: life is a gift that is worth living. And many of us have come to the realization, more so now than any other time in our existence. Life is always fragile, but because of the COVID-19 situation, its fragility has been exposed totally. And if anyone had any doubt before, well, there certainly should be no more doubts. You're here today, even in the normal course of life, and you could be gone tomorrow. But nonetheless, COVID-19 or not, life is worth living. So let us find ways and means, notwithstanding the stresses that many of us are under, to continue living. And as the late great Egyptologist Professor Ben Buchanan said, do not worry about death, because it is coming anyhow. So whether you are afraid of it or not, it is coming. Treasure the gift that is life and make the very best out of it. So I repeat to you, life is worth living, and let us live it to the fullest. Many of you may be under extreme pressure, but life is worth living, and even though, as we say in the Caribbean, you might be catching hell, life is worth living. So find ways and means. I know it may be easier said than done, but it's our responsibility to make this gift of life worth living. So let's live it, and let's find ways and means to progress, notwithstanding the situation we are living in. So let us maximize this gift and make ourselves the very best we can be. So at least at the end of the pandemic, whatever that may be, we will be in a better and stronger position. So repeat after me again: life is worth living, and we must live it to the fullest. So that's what the little motivational word to introduce for today. And I would like to take the opportunity now to let you know that I am a consultant and life coach for a number of years. I have a company, Motivational Speaking International Limited, that was established in 1998, and we offer training and consultancy services in a range of areas, all right, in terms of leadership skills, communication skills, psychological support services. I've been trained in the area of behavioral sciences and educational psychology. We offer training in terms of becoming a public speaker, entrepreneurship skills, how to start and run a business, conflict resolution, emotional intelligence, among a host of other topic areas. We have done work throughout Trinidad and Tobago, across the Caribbean, a few countries in Latin America, Canada, and the United States of America. So we would like to encourage you to call 1-868-778-5141, 1-868-779-2544, or email me at leadershipwithadifference@gmail.com if you would like to have a workshop set up or training session, if you would like to have a one-on-one session. Remember, I mentioned a while ago that I do consultancy and also life coaching. We can always be better, and right now we are witnessing the 2020 Olympics in 2021 in Tokyo, Japan, and all of the persons who have done well, they will always tell you of the tremendous input of a coach. So we all need a coach, no matter what part of life we are at. And as your life coach, I am here to help you fulfill that potential, to help you become better, to help you cope with many of the stresses of life. And through those services, I certainly would like to partner with you, work with you in terms of turning out a greater performance. So I remind you again, if you need those services, call 1-868-778-5141, 1-868-779-2544, or email me at leadershipwithadifference@gmail.com. So at the end of the presentation, I will give you a reminder again. So today's topic is what is the best examination that we should give, whether it's students, whether it's our athletes, you name it. Now I am involved in education. I have been involved in public education over the last 45 years. I've been involved in formal education as a university lecturer at the University of the Southern Caribbean. Period 2008 to currently, and through my company Motivational Speaking International Limited, I have done training for the past 23 years. So looking at public education, looking at education through my company, and looking at education at the tertiary level at the University of the Southern Caribbean. It's a period of 45 years, right? So what I'm saying to you is that as an educator, we set exams and we examine students. And I will just talk a bit in terms of the normal kinds of exams that we set. And I would like you to consider whether those types of exams are really helping students to fulfill their potential and solve life's problems. For example, typically, within the educational sector, you have multiple choice exams, we have short answers, we have essays. Now it is said that the ideal exam should only have one type of question, because some students will be strong in multiple choice, others may be strong in essays, others may be strong in short answers, probably matching, true and false, etc. So the ideal exam in terms of the typical kinds of exams that students will encounter in secondary school at the tertiary level would involve a mix of multiple choice questions, short answers, true and false, essays. But the question to you, are those exams really bringing out the best in students? Because we have a situation where students sometimes excel by being able to answer questions well. And when they are thrust into the real world, they struggle. And that struggle, we have to ask ourselves why it is that struggle is taking place. Now, typically, a lot of examiners just examine at the level of knowledge. And examining students at the level of knowledge alone, it basically will encourage regurgitation. You learn, you remember, and you reproduce. But when we think of Bloom's taxonomy, where there are range of levels at which you should really test a student, there is some value in that, in that you need to bring out knowledge, you need to bring out comprehension, you need to bring out the ability for the students to synthesize information, evaluate the information, analysis, and application. So if you can set questions across a range of those areas, it may certainly achieve a better outcome. But my argument still is that, notwithstanding that, whether you use Bloom's taxonomy, whether you do your own thing, at the end of the day, those examinations preparing students to deal with the reality of the world, with the problems of the world, in terms of producing solutions. And there's a lot of debate going on whether that is happening or not. Because we have so many, as I discussed in a previous presentation, that certification is not qualification. We have so many people with BScs, MScs, and PhDs, and all other forms of certification, and yet we are overwhelmed with so many problems. There are more problems than solutions. So if it is that those exams are already examining the right things, I guess those people are supposed to be in a position where they can readily provide solutions, but that is not necessarily the case. I remember a former student of mine from the island of Nevis indicated to me that she got a scholarship to do a master's degree in clinical psychology at a university in Taiwan. And their model of examining is totally practical. And she confessed to me that the practical examinations are far superior and more difficult to deal with than the normal kind of exams that I spoke about earlier on in the presentation. And I think that model is a very, very interesting model in that when you are released into the real world, having been trained and examined in that way, you'll be fit for industry. You'll be ready to roll out. So even without actually having experience in a field upon graduation, because of the practical nature of the training, you will be in an ideal position to offer and to transform what was learned quickly into practice. I remember in the earlier incarnation of one of our local universities in Trinidad, the University of Trinidad and Tobago, that their engineering students, the degree program was over a period of 4 years. And they had 2 years theoretical training and 2 years industry training. I do not know if that model still exists, but that original model was a beautiful model in that such an engineer upon graduation will be in a better place to get going in a very short period of time within industry because of the fact that they have had 2 years practical experience working in industry in various scenarios, rather than a typical training as an engineer where you just probably will do a project as part of your training and not really exposed to the industry training. So I think the model, that initial model of the UTT, University of Trinidad and Tobago, the model that my former students spoke about at that university in Taiwan, is really a beautiful model in terms of examining people practically. Because we have a lot of intelligent people in the world, and when I talk about intelligent persons, I'm not talking about necessarily people who have just passed examination. There are people who are functionally illiterate, mightn't be able to read and write, but are highly intelligent. What kind of examination would you set for such a person? Extremely intelligent, probably highly skilled in their hands, probably could come up with novel solutions, yet they might not be in a position where they can read and write. So whether you look at that scenario, whether you look at the typical exam structure within schools and universities, are those formats enough in terms of preparing people to face the realities of life? I am saying that that is certainly not the case, because we are seeing the difficulties that we have in terms of solving problems and really dealing with situations in a way that will indicate that all those highly examined people who have been so successful are the ones who really are making the difference in terms of solving those problems. So I'm suggesting that why can't we introduce an exam to look at character? Right? There is no test for character in terms of students as they perform. Of course, when they do exams, we will try to minimize or eliminate the question of cheating, because when you cheat, of course, it's a very sad indictment in terms of the kind of character. But we need character testing. We need exams to test a sense of purpose, right? So we have to jump out of the box and come up with innovative ways, because many people, after attaining their PhDs, their MScs, etc., some of them, they have no clue as to what is the next step. Many of them have a sense of entitlement that some, special job will fall into their laps. When in truth and in fact, it's the ability of one to exercise their brain power not necessarily your ability to answer a question now. When you are in the real world, you have to be able to exercise your brain power in terms of what is the next step. So, a test, an exam for your sense of purpose, an exam to train people to socialize properly, to communicate. So many people in high positions and they are unable to communicate. Are we giving them exams to bring out and develop those kind of qualities? No, we are not doing that. So we need exams to test character. We need exams to test a sense of purpose. We need exams to test communication skills. What really makes people happy? What tests are you giving for that? Because at the end of the day, people need to be happy in terms of how they function in life. And sometimes the exams that they did in school don't help them. So we need an education system that is totally different to what we now have. When we look back at the ancient Egyptians, their model of preparing you for the real world was indeed interesting, in that to be considered an educated person, you had to cover areas of civics, you had to cover areas of sport, you had to cover areas of science. In other words, all of the different areas that were relevant to life and to making you functional, you had to be successful in those areas. So I'm saying we can draw on that. We can draw on the practical model from the university in Taiwan. We can draw on UTT's initial model in training their engineers in terms of giving people exams that will be practical and useful to live in. We shouldn't just have certain courses based on their nature having a practical component. We need examinations to make people fully functioning human beings. And a multiple choice, a short answer, and an essay certainly may not be the kind of examinations that we need to set for our students to become effective in life. We need examinations that can make people effective in life. At the end of the day, whether you have a certification or not, your ability to exercise brain power, your ability to innovate, your ability to create, because we're facing a situation now where many of the graduates, the traditional jobs that they are looking forward to, they no longer exist. As a matter of fact, even before COVID-19, that was the situation where it has become very, very, very difficult for people to find employment in a formal way. I mean, I remember my brother who worked in Nigeria for a number of years telling me that, his barber, was qualified up to MBA level. Now, there is nothing wrong in being a barber. As a matter of fact, barbering is a very profitable profession. Well, pre-COVID times, if you're well organized and you're well structured, many persons have done tremendously well. So I guess the MBA student could have utilized his training in terms of making that business one like no other. We have heard reports of people with PhDs in places like India, even Nigeria, driving trucks, right? And we have heard many stories of PhDs waiting for the special job. As I said before, you have passed all those exams, but now you are challenged in terms of exercising that brain power, in terms of creating something that could work for you. So our examinating model must become more practical, and it must become relevant to the areas of life that will matter. Having a sense of purpose, being able to communicate with each other, being able to solve problems, all of these things, having a strong sense of character, because we have so many people in high positions who, crooks and scoundrels, and we don't want that kind of thing. Lots of certificates, and then no moral compass, no moral strength. They are not an ideal model for people to look up to. And I'm saying, let us get those kinds of exams to give people those kinds of skills and to make this society, to make this world a better place, more functionally strong. And we need that level of creativity, we need that level of passion, we need that level of innovation, particularly at this point in time. So, as we spoke about examinations, let us really examine it so that we can come up with an appropriate model. So I thank you once again for listening, for absorbing the word, for receiving the word, and for looking at a model going forward where doing an exam will really provide people with skills and the capacity to make that difference. So, as usual, if the message resonated with you, feel free to subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the video. Most importantly, I will be very interested in hearing your comments on the topic presented today. So I take the opportunity once again to remind you that you can contact me at 1-868-778-5141, 1-868-779-2544, or you can email me at leadershipwithadifference@gmail.com. I remind you again that I'm your life coach. Call and make an appointment. I can consult, given whatever problem area, in the areas that I mentioned to you, whether it's leadership, communication, psychosocial support, conflict resolution, emotional intelligence, you name it. Feel free and contact me and book your appointment. As I said at the beginning, life is a gift, life is worth living, and let us live it to the fullest. So thanks again, stay tuned for future messages, and I'll be back again to share another word. So in the meantime, between time, bye and stay tuned. Thank you very much.